Fantasy football is officially here. While many fantasy drafts have already taken place, the biggest draft weekend of the year is right on our doorstep. Regardless of your league's rosters or rules, it's time to pay closer attention to the players whose roles have become more clearly defined. This is the time of year when NFL teams have been making serious roster decisions. Players get put on and oftentimes stay on the physically unable to perform PUP and non-football injury NFI lists. Players are released or traded at the cut-down deadline, which opens up a clearer path to touches for others. Beyond these moves, sometimes the public just finally comes around on a player they've previously been low on. Regardless of the reasons, you can get some really great value in your fantasy draft if you stay on top of the news. That's why, in this article, I'm going to highlight a few players who are moving up in my rankings as we get closer to the start of the season. Rashee Rice, WR, Kansas City Chiefs. Rice was involved in a serious traffic accident earlier this year. The legal process is still ongoing, and once that concludes, the NFL will conduct its own investigation. He is not suspended at this time, but that can change at any point. Barring suspension, Rice should still have plenty of games as the WR1 in a high-scoring Chiefs offense. Last season, Rice finished as WR27, but that only tells part of the story. From weeks 12 to 17, Rice ranked WR4 in fantasy points thanks to a massive uptick in targets. Over that span, he had a 27.8% target share, ranking 6th in targets, 4th in receiving yards, and 2nd in receptions. He was the preferred target for Patrick Mahomes in that offense, even above Travis Kelce. If Rice didn't have the legal situation looming over him, he'd likely be drafted as a top 15 to top 20 wide receiver. However, as of this writing, his ADP has him as only the no. 33W are being taken off the board, going at the end of round 9. That's incredibly low given both his talent and production as a rookie. If you want Rice, my WR24, you'll likely have to grab him in round 5 or 6, well before one of your fellow managers decides to pounce. The Panthers drafted AB Jonathan Brooks to be the future of their backfield, but he's starting the season on the NFI list after suffering a torn ACL during his final year at Texas. That means he'll be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season, with the potential to miss even more time after that. Don't assume that the rookie, who still hasn't practiced with Carolina since being drafted in April, will immediately come back at top form as soon as his required 4-week absence is over. Our impeccable injury analyst, Stephanie Abell, has made it very clear that return to play is not the same as return to performance. And, in this situation, we're talking about a rookie who hasn't even touched a practice field with his new team. Brooks will still need to ramp up to a full-time workload, while digesting everything the NFL is throwing at him. And he'll have to do that in the middle of the season for potentially the worst team in football. Last season, Hubbard took over the starting AB role in Week 6 and didn't relinquish the gig for the rest of the season. He wasn't very efficient, but he was given a steady dosage of volume. As the starter, Hubbard ranked 5th in the NFL in touches and 14th in scrimmage yards. Sure, it was tough for him to be uber efficient in such a low-quality offense led by a struggling rookie QB, but he was still a nice bye-week fill-in during his time as a starter, averaging 12.6 fantasy points per game over that stretch. Hubbard will get plenty of run as the starting AB in this offense. He's coming off the board as a B45 in the 16th round, a full 6 rounds after Brooks. He's basically free. Scoop him up as a late-round starter for your bye-week needs. Similar to the Panthers situation I just mentioned, Foot is coming off the board a full round after Nick Chubb, who is starting the season on the PUP list after suffering a brutal knee injury last year. If you've listened to Fantasy Focus this year, you've heard Stephanie Abell talk about her concerns with Chubb coming back and playing like the Nick Chubb we've all come to know and love. Look, there's no way to know how quickly he'll progress through rehab and get back to game shape. Unfortunately, given the nature of his injury, I'm bypassing Chubb altogether and targeting Fed as another late round AB to stash on my bench. I'm not drafting him as a starter, especially since he's coming off the board in the 13th round, but I'm drafting him as a bye-week fill-in who should have a decent floor when called upon to carry either my RB2 or flex spot. He's not always exciting, but after averaging 12 points for FPPG as a starter, Foot has moved up my rankings and is now my RB33.